to this week's episode of Pre-Match Drills. On the show this week, I speak to Imps fan Jake to get the lowdown on this weekend's opponents, Lincoln City. We go behind the scenes at the training ground to see how the team have been preparing ahead of the game at Adams Park on Saturday. But first, let's catch up with the head coach, Mike Dodds. Mike, these are all big games now, aren't they? We're on to the final 9, going for the finishing line. International break, how's the break been? I mean, obviously everyone's been working hard, but a break from fixtures.
Yeah, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it in terms of it's good to have a break, or you can look at it in terms of we had a positive result the Tuesday before the break, and you want the next game because you want to try and pick up some momentum. So look, I think it was good for some of the group to get a little bit of a breather because they've played a lot of football mentally and physically, and now I think for other half of the group it was good to get on the training pitch and do some work and try and get them closer to the team. The single game weeks from a selfish perspective are always important because I can spend more time on the grass with the players, and that's been a real luxury since I've been at the football club. It just seems to be game after game after game, and you feel like you're just kind of riding that wave a little bit. Having a full week or so to prepare is a real luxury at the moment, and something we've made full use of.
And there were some League One games and some results in there that really put things into perspective in terms of recent fixtures.
Yeah, I think one of the lads said it. I think obviously the Peterborough game in particular, the first half wasn't what we wanted it to look like or what we wanted it to be. But you come away from that game with a point, and then I think one of the lads had mentioned to the rest of the group, Charlton go there, who are probably the most informed team in the league, and get beat 3-0 and. It probably puts a little bit into perspective that sometimes you look back and go, okay, let's have a little bit more balanced opinion that it might be a good point. I think naturally you want to go into every single game of football coming out with 3 points. Unfortunately, this isn't Disney World. This is real life, and that unfortunately doesn't happen more often than not. So, sometimes results throw themselves up where you can put a little bit more perspective in terms of our results. That being said, we've got 9 really important games. I excuse the kind of cliche, but 9 cup finals. We'll do everything we possibly can to make sure we win all 9. That's going to be a really tough task. I think everyone knows that. But what we've got to do is just focus on us. I think we had a really, really positive result on Tuesday against an incredibly physical and direct team, which is really, really hard to go to, especially on a Tuesday evening. And I think one of the reporters said they hadn't lost there or something in League One in a midweek or something like that. I can't remember what the exact kind of stat was, but it was, regardless of that, it was a really important result for us, regardless of what happened prior. It's a difficult place to go, and I think the group showed that when we need to kind of roll our sleeves up, we'll mix it with anyone in the league.
Lots of fans and pundits have looked at the run-ins of the respective teams at the top end of the table, but Lincoln are a team in mid-table. They're not going to get relegated, and bar a miracle, they're not going to get in the playoffs. And that's almost even more dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't look at league tables, I'll be honest with you. I try to look at it more objectively in terms of I watch as many games as I possibly can without giving myself paralysis. I try and come up with a strategy or plan which I feel will, one, nullify the opposition, but also give us the best opportunity of winning the game. So in terms of the league table, I don't really pay a huge amount of attention to it. I knew the game on Tuesday, sorry to go back to Rotherham, would be a really difficult game of football when you watch them in terms of how direct and physical they are. I knew it would be a really difficult game of football regardless of their league position. Lincoln are similar in terms of forget their league position. They've had some really positive results recently. They've had some really, really strong performances recently. But the last 9 games, they're all going to be really, really difficult. So we've got to focus on us, like I keep saying, focus on us, focus on getting 3 points and then move on to the next game.
And a home game as well on a Saturday. Not many of those left now between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, and I keep saying this. I think I spoke to a fan when I turned up earlier. We're going to need all the fans to get behind us because since I've been in, it's been semi-bumpy. I wouldn't say it will be completely bumpy, but from now to the end of the season, there's going to be so many emotions, and it's going to be a roller coaster. We need to stick together. Us as kind of the technical staff, the players, and in particular fans, we need to stick together. And if we do that, I have full confidence we're going to achieve what we want to achieve.
And finally, you mentioned during the international break, the physical rest, but also the mental rest as well. How important is that, mentally for the players just to be completely on it now for this run-in?
Yeah, I think that there's two ways of looking at it. You can be the clubs that have played over the international break, and their kind of narrative will be, we're just trying to keep the flow and the momentum going. I think our viewpoint with it is, we can have a little bit of a breather, we can have a little bit of a reset, knowing that the next 9 games are going to be crucial, and then we're going to go into those next 9 games hopefully looking and feeling a lot fresher.
Okay, the international break is gone. Double game week coming up, starting at Adams Park against Lincoln City. And to find out about the Imps, it's our old friend Jake from the Here for the Lincoln podcast. Have I got that right?
You have, Phil. Yeah, it's a new venture that we started this season, and it's going to be successful. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
A successful podcast, but a mid-table team so far this season, Jake. Where are you at on things this season for the Imps? You're normally ambitious.
There's the dagger. Yeah, you're mid-table. Have some of that. Yeah, no, I completely understand it. Yeah, it's difficult to answer, Phil, really, because at the start of the season, based off the run that we went off on last year, where I think we went 20 games and lost twice and surged from where we are now into the playoff position, and we only missed out on the final day because we missed a penalty. And I think that run raised expectation a little bit, and everyone sort of saw the signings we were making and backed the manager profusely, and it's not quite worked out. I think the first half of the season, up until Christmas, we normally have a dodgy patch around December. We normally don't win any league games in December, so we got that hoodoo out of the way by beating Reading, and then after Christmas it's just gone downhill. We lost away at Shrewsbury under Lord and Saviour Gareth Ainsworth. We lost away at Bolton. We lost at home to Rotherham on New Year's Day. We drew at home to Stevenage. So that run of form completely killed us. And week by week, we slowly dropped back from the chasing pack, because we were in the playoffs. It's mad to say on Christmas Day. So yeah, it's been up and down. Recently it's been a little bit better. I mean, you might have noticed that I think since the middle of January we've been like the top goal scorers in the league. We've scored 5 a couple of times, scored 4 against Crawley. So yeah, it's been good. It's been okay. I think the expectation was to be a little bit better off. Why people maybe are on the back of the manager a little bit more, but I think for Lincoln City, given our budget constraints and given who we are and where we've come from, if we finished 11th or 12th in League One, you'd have to consider it a successful season. It's fine margins in League One. Like you said, you were up there for large parts of it. And, what's the missing piece of the jigsaw? What would make the difference for you guys? Well, I think we had him last year. A little blonde striker, you might know him. He goes by the name of Joe Taylor. He only went for about £3 million in January to Huddersfield, which, funnily enough, a club like Lincoln don't quite have lying around in the back of the pocket like maybe Huddersfield do. Yeah, look, Joe Taylor sparked that run last year massively. I also think what's not helped is last year we had a settled goalkeeper, Lucas Jensen, you might remember. He's obviously gone on to Millwall and done pretty well up there. We had George Wickens in goal, and he sort of had a bit of a spell out after Christmas, and it's completely killed us. We had to play Zach Geacock, who was on loan at National League Southend for the first half of the season. So that's killed us a little bit as well. We've had a couple of injuries at the top end of the pitch, players that have been good, not performing like they did last season. And the squad depth, we had squad depth last year. I actually referenced the game against Wycombe last season at home where I think it was tight. It was 0-0 until about maybe 60 minutes. We made 3 subs. We brought on Hackett, Bishop and Mandroy, and we wwon the game 3-0. We haven't quite got that squad depth this year. And, a lot of our young promising players are out on loan rather than being kept around the squad. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's ultimately squad depth. We haven't quite got the quality to keep up with a team like, Huddersfield or Bolton, nor the resources, really.
Tell me about this striker who started scoring recently. He got a hat-trick.
Jovan Wickhama.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jovan Wickhama was really interesting because before now you probably wouldn't have paid much attention to him, but this month, calendar month of March, he's been on absolute fire. He scored, he came off the bench and scored and got an assist away at Barnsley, scored and got an assist against Crawley, and then he scored a hat-trick and got an assist against Bristol Rovers a couple of weekends ago. He's really interesting. He came through at Derby, got released by Derby because one of our assistant head coaches, Tom Shaw, used to coach within the academy circles around there. We were able to lure him to Lincoln. Jovan's had a bit of a tough spell. He went on loan to Brackley, struggled for game time there, went to Gainsborough, had a really good loan spell. But then sort of last season, right in the first half of last year, you might remember me saying we had a real striker crisis. From about September to December, we didn't have a senior striker in the building, and poor Jovan was really the only one because Freddie Draper was out on loan at Walsall. So we got thrown into the starting 11 at the age of 19 and struggled for goals because that's what 19-year-olds do, and when he's acclimatised into League One football. And all of a sudden, we've moved him out from being a number 9, which if you look at him physically, he looks like a number 9. We've moved him to the right-hand side where he played more for our 18s, and we've just unlocked this absolute monster. He's about 6'5". He's rapid. He's showing now that he can start to finish, hence the hat-trick against Bristol Rovers. And that commodities on a long-term contract is a really big asset for someone like Lincoln. And we're hoping that if we can keep him for another 18 months or so, we can sell him on for big money because he'll be 20-odd, 22, having played 150 games for the first team. And all of a sudden, he's just sparked into life. And it's an absolute honour to watch someone like him come through your academy and play in the first team.
Fantastic. Raw and exciting. We've also got Collins up top as well, who knows everything about League One and scoring. And I remember him scoring against Wycombe a few times down the years as well.
Good, because he'll need to do that at the weekend. That's his job. Colo's great because if you look at the strikers that we have at the club, you had McCarmer, who was 20, Freddie Draper, who's 21, Rob Street, who's actually killing it at Doncaster at the minute, he's 22. So we had a really, Ben House, who's 25, but he's off the bandwagon now. He's a bit too old for Lincoln City, which is rich considering I'm 27. So, he's come in 34, added experience. You know what James Collins is at this level. He's a 1 in 3 centre forward, and he's come in and I think he's probably scored 1 in 3. I think he's got 5 or 6 goals since coming in from Derby, but massive. Not just on the pitch, Colo contributes with his goal scoring. He contributes massively off it. I think we've got the 4th youngest average age squad in the league. So to have someone of that experience, he's gone for big money to Cardiff before, massively helpful. And he can finish. I don't know if you saw his goal against Bristol Rovers, like the finish is just absolutely outstanding. So we really needed something like that to help. And it's progressed the likes of Draper and McCarmer, and hopefully it can do with Rob Street next year. But yeah, massive addition, Colo. Such a good player. You can tell he's played higher, a lot higher.
So it's sounding quite exciting then, in terms of a young squad, a highly thought of manager in the game. So it sounds like things are progressing, albeit this season it looks like it'll be mid-table. But in terms of the overall strategy, looking into next season, already it's looking like it could be promising.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I mean, I've already mentioned we had Rob Street on loan, who out at Doncaster, who scored 6 goals since going in there. JJ McKeon, you might have come across him for Burton a couple of weeks ago. He's one of ours out on loan, making a name for himself. The problem with us for next year, Phil, is that we've got some key players out of contract. Paulie O'Connor, who is one that I'd definitely keep an eye out for on Saturday. He's, in my opinion, one of the probably top 2 or 3 defenders in this league so far this season. He's been outstanding. He's out of contract, 27, probably wants to go and test himself for the league above. Sean Rowan as well, out of contract. He's 22, played 150 times for our first team. He's out of contract as well. So there's a little bit of rejigging to do next season, but we've certainly got the key the key components to have a successful team. But the thing with Lincoln is, and certainly at this level, it always will be, when you've got clubs like Birmingham and Wrexham, will be budget. We can only offer so much. We're sort of trying to buy players pre-peak and then sell them on when they get to the peak. And ultimately, that's what we've got to do. And hopefully we can, bring some of these lads out who have been out on loan, get them playing first team football for us, and add in a couple more. And maybe we might end up spending ourselves to get higher up the league, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, back to this season and Saturday in particular, it's 4-2-3-1 is the sort of preferred service, isn't it, of the manager. Like we said, I don't want to harp on about it, but mid-tables, there's no pressure. We've had teams coming to Adams Park in the last 4 or 5 months, sitting deep with the low block. Looking at the amount of goals you've been scoring, it suggests you might come and have a go.
Yeah, not a chance. We've got nothing to play for. We hit 50 points at the weekend. We know we're going to be safe. I can't see any of the bottom 4 reaching 50 points before the end of the season. So we might as well. And Skabala will probably he'll play that 4-2-3-1, and we play really attacking. You will see, similar to what we did when we played the 3-5-2. We're still pressing quite high. You've got Makama and Jeffries who are very intelligent on either side that pick up your fullbacks, so your outside centre-back. So, yeah, I think we're going to come and have a go. I seem to remember a couple of years ago when we had nothing to play for and Wycombe was still vaguely involved in the playoff conversation. We came and won 2-0 with a goal from the halfway line. So, look, we're going into this game. There's nothing to be scared of. We went to Birmingham, played really well, nothing to be scared of. So, yeah, we'll respect Wycombe because you've had a particularly good season and we know about your threats because we were on the end of them at Central Bank earlier in the season. But, we've got nothing to play for. You guys are trying to go for the top 2, so we're just going to come and try and spoil the party a little bit. That's what Lincoln have done over the last couple of years.
Yeah, the game at your place earlier in the season, it's kind of gone against type a bit. I mean, I know there's been a few wins for you guys, 3-0 late on the other year, but before that, they've always tended to be very tight games. But the 3-2 at Central Bank earlier in the season was a cracker, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a great game. And genuinely, it could have been 4-2 to Wycombe. It could have been 4-3 to Lincoln. It was just one of those games. And I've actually highlighted this, amongst a lot of Lincoln fans that I talked to and say that Wycombe were probably the best team that have come to the bank so far this season. Like levels, like Kone, I've said to you a couple of times, he's just an absolute joke. He had an unbelievable game that day. I think he scored and set one up. McCleary did pretty well. Danadoe, like, you just got so many good players. And it was a bit of a humdinger. And hopefully our games over the last sort of couple of months, month really, have all really been humdingers. You look 4-3 away at Barnsley, 5-0 against Bristol Rovers, 4-1 against Crawley. So I'm just hoping for goals. I'm paying my admission fee. I'm hoping for a couple of goals. And if we come out on the losing end of it, so be it. It's not a difference to me. I just want to be entertained. And I think Saturday we could be in for another similar sort of game.
You sound like a dangerous team. Who else have you got to play in the running? Are there any other the big guns at the top?
So, Phil, this is the reason why I'm glad we've got to 50 points. We've pretty much got all of the teams at the top still to play. So we've played Birmingham, we've got Wycombe on Saturday, Wrexham, we've still got to play last game of the season. We've still got Charlton, Stockport, Bolton, Reading still to play. The only game that we haven't got against a team above us is Shrewsbury. And now I don't get to see Gareth Ainsworth, so I'm a little bit upset about that. So we still have a big hand to say in who's going to finish in the top 6. And when we've got nothing to play for, teams, you could say, they're on the beach, but I think teams like that are a little bit more dangerous. And, sometimes when it means so much to one team and other teams sort of sacking it off, well, you get crazy results at this time of the season. We saw it last year when we were playing for something and lost to Wigan at home. So, these things happen, and hopefully we can come and spoil the party in Wycombe on Saturday.
Well, let's see. We hope you don't spoil the party in Wycombe on Saturday, but you can spoil the rest of the parties for everyone else.
Absolutely, mate.
That's a fearsome run of fixtures, but I think you'll have a lot of Wycombe fans supporting you on the final day of the season.
Yeah, I think the plot twist is we want to ruin the documentary. We want it to go down to the final day, and they need to come and win, and all of a sudden we beat them, and then maybe Wycombe were the beneficiaries of that. But the Wrexham have already brought an under-18s team to Central Bank for the documentary and already lost. So hopefully the first team can follow in the same suit.
Well, there we go. Well, this is all set to be a classic on Saturday. We look forward to welcoming you to Adams Park, and it hopefully be a lovely day and a great game. And like I say, all the best for the rest of the season after Saturday.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate that.
It's been a busy week at the training ground. Wanderers TV went behind the scenes to give you a flavour of what's been going on.
How are you, mate? How are you? All good, thank you.
Get back, Scurry! Are they not? I was going to say that. Playoffs, eh? Huh? Time, lads! Yeah!
That's it for this week's show. Hopefully see you at Adams Park on Saturday and also Tuesday for the game against Shrewsbury Town. But if you can't make it, then don't worry, because Wanderers TV has got you covered. Come on, you Blues.